Welcome back. Stage 3, maturation. I'll share my screen. All right, stage 3, maturation. This is the final stage in the healing process. Maturation, or the scar stage. All wounds reach maturation or maturity. All wounds age. Time continues on no matter what we do. How that wound heals is up to you. Maturation markers, what it looks like when you have a healthy, mature scar or wound. There is visible change to the wound or wounded person. The therapeutic sessions have been successful. You have talked this out. You've received positive, life giving support from yourself, from those around you, from the Bible, from a pastor. You have had a successful time dealing with the truth, moving through the salt and debridement stages of the wound healing process. And here you are, prepared to engage those wounded areas. That means I can operate in that area of my life again. Wherever I was wounded, I don't have to keep that closed off, blocked away, hidden behind some black door. I can use that part of my emotions, my life again. In unhealthy maturation, because remember, all wounds get older, it's just whether they're healed or unhealed. So, an unhealthy maturation marker starts off with a wound that's not healed, still open, still running, still festering, still tender, further loss or damage. So, now I haven't taken care of this wound and it is causing me problems in my life. Perhaps I'm using things for denial, like alcohol, drug abuse, emotional standoffness, coldness, other types of abuse of myself or people around me. So that's more damage to your life. And you have the reduced ability in that area, or you're not functioning well in that area or in more than one area, because remember, that wound can spread to your body. There's even a such thing as when a wounded area of our body is infected, not only that area can become infected, but it can travel throughout our body, and we know that that is true. And we see a lot of unhealthy maturation markers, and what I believe are some of the sicknesses and illnesses that are in people around us today. So let's talk about some scars and how they have a parallel emotionally. Let's talk about keloids. And if you've ever seen a keloid, it's usually happens on darker skinned people, but this could happen anywhere. It's a wound. Um, there is a wound there that might have been significant or even smaller, but as it healed, more and more tissue began to grow and grow. And so there was an over proliferation of tissue growing there, and it ends up growing larger than the original wound. This scar's parallel, I think, is seen in the aftermath of divorce, where yes, the divorce wound was absolutely significant, but there are so many other things that come along with just the end of the relationship. There's shame. There could be a loss of financial and social status. There's an increase in the wounding as maybe one person moves on or you're unable to. Not only have you lost a partner, but also friendships, access, recognition. All right. And a separate wound would be that of the loss of children, family connections, so many things there. So, keloids are wounds that, as they are supposed to be healing, they grow larger than the original wound. That does not mean that it has to stay that way. Keloids can be removed. Scar parallels, burns are a model of protection and support. Burns teach us to cover and protect the wounded as they heal. People with burns are very susceptible to infection, so it is critical to care for them in a sterile environment. We've talked a lot about what a bad environment is for someone who is healing from an emotional wound and what a clean, positive environment is. Severe burns may even be painless, while minor burns are excruciating. This teaches us not to judge other people's pain. However, burns are disfiguring. They completely destroy the areas that were there before, and they may obscure the person's original appearance. So, after certain levels of burns, sometimes the person is unrecognizable, and new skin needs to be grafted on from other areas, which can cause a wound itself. But new skin being grafted on, this person's appearance may change. They may never be exactly like the person they were before, but that does not mean that they will not live a healthy and productive life. Some other scar parallels. So, if you've ever seen someone bump their head on the floor on a wooden bench or a cabinet, sometimes they get what we call a goose egg or a knot. Knots are benign and they heal with time, but they look so much worse than they actually are. Sometimes you look at them and you think maybe this person has a TBI. Likewise, a traumatized person may heal sooner than expected. So we see a person and we think that what they've gone through looks really, really bad, but perhaps that person has a strong support system. That person may have a close relationship with Jesus Christ, and they are able to sustain that knot and it heal and go down sooner than others. There are other wounds that don't look as bad from the outside, but are actually extremely dangerous going on the inside. Subdural and epidural hematomas prove that there's no cheat code to healing. These types of wounds involve the pooling of blood around the head. So small hematomas may heal on their own, however, many may require brain surgery. These types of healings, head traumas, represent the rush to heal. So a lot of people look like on the outside, like they're really healing up, and they want to pretend that if they just check these three boxes, then boom, they're healed. But what about the pain, the truth, the dealing with regret, shame, all the spiritual aspects of what has gone on? In sexual cases, dealing with all of the trauma and the underlying memories and even the spiritual aspects that come with someone invading your body and your spirit in that way. It is no mistake that these take place in the brain or mind, subdural and epidural hematomas. You can't rush in to heal the mind. You will always remember the trauma. Healing doesn't mean that you've got a men in black wand and your memory is gone. So trying to pretend you've had a quick fix is a form of denial. An emotional subdural hematoma is when you go through the motions, but you aren't actually taking God's healing to heart. You haven't truly released the forgiveness and pain. This creates a slow, pooling pressure that is detrimental to the body. Eventually, you start to see signs of the unhealed heart and hurt, which is what we're trying to avoid, right? So, healing is not a one way street. Be careful to remember that. Some people heal sooner than others. There are some people whom healing is an involved process and it will take much more treatment, as we might say, or time. But everyone is able to heal when we deal with these things emotionally and spiritually the proper way. God's healing is available to everyone, even if it looks unhealable. So, what are our takeaways? The natural world is a reflection of the spiritual world in many ways. Wounds heal in three stages: inflammation, proliferation, and maturation. Forgiveness is a process that ends in healing. Left untreated, a wound will only cause more damage. And finally, personal pain thresholds determine the time needed to heal. In closing, I want to say something that will be hard to hear, but it is the truth, and we know that hard things are worth it in the end. You will never be free from the scars. Trauma changes you physically, emotionally, and spiritually. However, you can heal. A scar proves that healing has taken place. When we operate in our God given capacity to forgive, we heal and move forward. Forgive anything. Thank you for joining our group of people seeking healing here at hashtag apathy. Remember to email, subscribe, share, put comments. If you have questions that you don't want others to see, please feel free to email those questions to hashtag apathy@gmail.com.